Hi gang, let's do 39, number 39, section 3.6. Alright, let me find a pencil that I like. Alright, just a quick look at this. For this part here, the arc sine of x over 4, we're going to use the formula. And for this part over here, I'm going to probably slightly rewrite this. We're going to use the product rule for this part over here. Alright, let me start with the beginning. And I wrote the formula underneath. So the arc sine is being multiplied by 8. Let's not lose that. And the u value this time is x over 4. That's your u, this x over 4. Alright, let's plug it into the formula. So what is the derivative of x over 4? If it helps you, think of x over 4 as 1/4 x. Right? So the derivative of x over 4 is 1/4. Alright, and then we're going to do over the square root of 1 minus the u value, which is x over 4 whole quantity squared. Okay, so again, multiply by the 8. The x over 4 is the u. The derivative of u is 1/4, 1/4. And then we have to do 1 minus the u squared. So 1 minus the square root. 1 minus the x over 4 squared, square rooted. There's a lot of simplifying we're going to do over here. You do have to do it. You cannot leave this this with fractions here. Okay, this is going to be a lot of work. We're going to come back to that one. That's going to be super exciting. Okay, now over here, I'm just going to rewrite this first. You guys may see this, but just in case you don't, I want to make sure. So this is just me rewriting this. I'm going to bring the 1/2 to the front. So you can say I'm dividing by 2, or you can, an equivalent statement is to say I'm multiplying by 1/2. Multiplying by 1/2 is the same thing as dividing by 2. I'm going to write this part in fractional equivalent for the radical. And then I don't want to forget the minus sign. Okay, so all I did here was just, this is just a rewrite. I didn't take any kind of derivative. It's just a rewrite. You also have to be careful when you take the derivative because you have to minus everything that comes to the right. So when you expand this using the product rule, the negative is going to distribute to both pieces. So just so we remember to do that, I'm going to put up a bracket because it's going to be minus the product rule of everybody. Alright, so when I do the product rule, alright, so let me maybe move this so I don't double do it. But you can certainly do it with the negative here and count this as your f function. But I've decided to put the negative all the way out front, okay? So I'm going to take this as the first function, this is the second part. Alright, so here we go with the product rule. So the first part times the derivative of the second part. Now this is a composite because it's got an innie and an outie. So we're going to use chain rule on this. Alright, so we first do the 1/2. I'll come back and fill this in. That's the derivative of the outside. Derivative of the inside is negative 2x. Alright, let me just fill back in. 16 minus x squared. And again, remember when you do the chain rule, it's outer layer, keeping derivative of the outer layer, keeping the inner layer the same, times the derivative of the inner layer. Sometimes you have to hear that a few times till you get it. Alright, so that's first times derivative of second, and I'm not even going to be able to fit this. First times derivative of second piece now plus second piece times the derivative of the first piece. Derivative of the first piece is 1/2. Close all the brackets. If you want, I can make this a brace if that's easier for your eyes to see. The brace is for the negative to go through. Okay, so enormous amount of simplifying here, and the battery is blinking. Okay, that's great. All right, let's just do what we can. If I get cut off, I'll pick it up. So let's first do now an 8 times a quarter is 2. And let's start simplifying in here. I'm just going to work on this guy for a moment and then I'll go over to that guy, okay? So this is going to be 1 minus x squared over 16 because you're squaring this. All right, so now you got to get an LCD, right? You got to get LCD. So I'm going to multiply up down by 16 over 16 so I can get an LCD here. So 2 over 16 minus x squared over 16. All right, we're looking good so far. So I was able to now combine these because I got the LCD, so I could combine the numerator. Now remember, with radicals, you can break them. If you don't remember this from intermediate, I'll write it out for you. You can break a radical over a fraction. So this is equivalent to saying this, right? I'm breaking, like if I had just started with this, that's equivalent to saying that. All right, so now the square root of the 16 is going to come out as a 4, right? This guy's going to come out as a 4. So the 4 is out of the radical. Now I'm trying to figure out how your brains do this. So you're dividing by 4, so you're multiplying by 1/4. You guys remember that? I don't know if I'm doing too many steps here. If this is, sometimes if you do too many steps, it's not helpful. So it's like 2 divided by 16 over x squared, which is 2 over 4, which is the same thing as 2 times 4 over 16 minus x squared, because you're going to flip this, right? Division becomes multiplication, so then this becomes 8 over 16 minus x squared after all that. Woo! All right, now we have to now work on the second guy. So there's a lot of stuff I have to now work on the second guy also. All right, so let me just rewrite this guy over here so I don't lose him. He doesn't float off into space. I don't want him hanging out by Pluto. I want to keep him here on my paper. All right, so that's the first guy. We got him all cleaned up. Looks good. He's in his formal attire now. All right, let's fiddle with this guy over here. And let's not forget that this is all then going to be subtracted, all right? So whatever we figure out, we then have to subtract all that. All right, so let's start fiddling with this guy. So this is there's 2 terms here in the braces. This is the first term, and then this is the second term. So let's just work on an individual term first. So we have a half, and -2, and then we have the x times the x. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to clean up the little pieces first. I'm multiplying all these little guys together, okay? So if you multiply all those little guys together, a half times 2, -2, you're going to get -1/2, right? Because this is 1/4. 1/4 times -2 is -1/2. You got an x here and an x here, so that's x squared. And then I've got the 16 minus x squared to the -1/2. All right, so I just cleaned up this first term. Now I'm going to see if there's anything I can do here. I can't do anything here, so I'll put plus. I'm just rewriting this, just putting the 1/2 in the front, 1/2. 16 minus x squared to the 1/2. And that's everything in the braces, okay? So I've pulled this guy over, I pulled the minus over, I squished this and plus this. So it's all over here now, believe it or not. Let's keep at it. Now I'll put the negative through to each term. I'm going to flip this guy down so we can see a little better what's happening with that. Okay, negative negative is a positive. I said I was going to flip this down. The 2 is already in the bottom. I think I'll just sit it down there. Okay, so I'm flipping it down and then I'm converting it to its radical because it's just a little easier for us to see the pattern. And then over here, this guy's positive, but I'm multiplying by negatives. This is negative 1/2. That 2 is going to be in the bottom. Square root 1/2 16 minus x squared. All right, let's play ball here. All right, so either you're noticing a pattern with these radicals. Either flip this guy down or flip these guys up, but let's make them all the same. So I'm going to flip this guy down. So how I'm going to flip this guy down? Oh, I wish I had more room. You know what? You're going to multiply it down. Like usually we move the radical to the top, but we're going to move the radical to the bottom. We don't usually do that. I'm trying to squeeze this together.